What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to talk about a deck that's gone and surprised me. You see, we've just had, over in Japan, the first preliminary area tournament, Hiroshima. And they've gone and revealed the winning deck. Now, the winning deck is Whitebeard. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, because if you follow the game, and if you haven't seen Whitebeard yet, just go and... I've done a video about Whitebeard winning on this channel. Go check it out. This looks like a Whitebeard deck. It looks basically like a Whitebeard deck did before OP04. There's nothing particularly... unless I'm missing something obvious, in which case tell me in the comment section. But there's nothing really groundbreaking in here. It is a Whitebeard deck. It's very good, but it's still a good Whitebeard deck. Okay, fine, they're not playing the 5-cost Marco. And the 5-cost Marco being not there is actually kind of relevant, I suppose. So fine, I will give you the 5-cost Marco being excluded. I'm talking about the one from OP03 here, as opposed to the one from OP02, which as we can see is clearly there. I will admit, fine, that not being there is kind of interesting. But outside of that, it's a Whitebeard deck. We know about Whitebeard decks. I don't think there's a huge need to go through and have a big look at this one in a huge amount of detail. What is surprising to me, however, is the second place deck, the finalist deck. It's Queen. The Queen from OP04. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I am not shy to tell you, that surprises me. Didn't see it coming. Did not think Queen was particularly good. Was not taking Queen particularly seriously. Well, don't I look silly now, ladies and gentlemen? Don't I look silly now? Because Queen is here, and Queen is apparently a very good deck, because it went and got runner-up at this big tournament over in Hiroshima. So this is one we probably do need to have a little bit of a look at. So in terms of the leader Queen here, this is the one from OP04, and we got 5,000 power, 4 life, dual colour blue and yellow. And for what it's worth, we are playing a dual colour deck here. We are going blue and yellow. Mostly blue, but there's a bit of yellow splashed in there. And we got Don X1. When attacking, if the total number of cards in your life and hand is 4 or less, draw a card. If you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, you can place a card from the top of your deck on top of your life instead of drawing a card. Now, obviously in the early game when you've got 4 life, you need to have very low hand to make this work. But the fact of the matter is, this will still give you some draw power as you go through the game. And later on in the game, when you've got a big character out, this will actually give you recovery. And that's probably the answer here. There comes a point where you're late in the game, and you're basically like recovering a card every single turn. And that's good. Recovering life every turn is probably a good thing. And that's probably the reason why this has ended up being a pretty gosh darn good deck. Because I tell you what, this is inarguably now a very good deck. It's gone and taken a big finish at a big tournament. This deck is absolutely legit. So what are we playing it with then? Well, we've got ourselves 3 copies of Perona. Now this is the Perona that came around right back in OP01. Still the only Perona we've ever had. 1 cost, 2,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and on play you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, rearrange them in any order, and then return them to the top or bottom of your deck. It was actually really good for Doflamingo decks when we were back in the OP01 meta. And this basically lets you stack the top and bottom of your deck. It means that you can play around and make sure you've got the right cards there at the right time. Okay, yeah, this is cool. And of course, don't forget that was a box topper. We've then got a full play set here of Kaya, which is another card that we've seen him play here and there. Also another one we've only had a single one of ever. On play, draw 2 cards, trash 2 cards from your hand. Good for draw power, and of course it's got counter plus 1,000. This is a very good thing. We have ourselves a couple copies of Law. This is the 1-cost blue Law from the starter deck. It's a 1-cost blocker. That's it. That's all we've got. It is a 1-cost blocker. But it's a 1-cost blocker. Blockers are good. 1 cost is cheap. We like this. We've got a full playset of Bo Hancock, and I will say, I've now gotten to the point where Bo Hancock is in it. I'm just over halfway through the manga. Yeah, no, she's cool. As somebody who has like 20 pet snakes, I'm not joking, Boa Hancock, we like Boa Hancock, this is fun. And this is again from starter deck 3, it's again a blocker, 3 cost, 1000 power blocker, but as a trigger, play this card. So we got another blocker, but it's one that plays for free if it comes out as a trigger. Yeah, this sounds alright to me, ladies and gentlemen, this sounds alright to me. Now we also have a playset of Don Quixote Doflamingo here. Now this is another older card, this is one that we got way back in OP01. Like a lot of these cards are older cards here. Oh look, it's another blocker. 3 cost, 4000 power with blocker. And on play, look at 5 cards on the top of your deck and return them to the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So once again here, we've got ourselves a blocker. We've seen that a lot. And we've also got a very similar skill here to Perona that allows us to rearrange to fix the top cards of our deck here, which is a very good thing. It means we know what we're drawing into. It means we know what's on top of our deck. This is a good thing. It's a skill we like very much indeed. Like I say, we saw this in the Doflamingo decks back in the OP01 meta. Now, moving over to a bit of yellow, because everything so far has, of course, been blue, we've got ourselves Capone, beige, or... yeah, beige, that's actually how you pronounce it. That's how you read in Japanese anyway. 3 cost, 3000 power, another counter plus 2000, which is always important. Trigger, up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards cannot attack during this turn. It's not a blocker on a trigger, but it's not a million miles away. It basically means you get to choose one of your opponent's cards, and then for the rest of the turn, they can't attack. Now, because it's a trigger, it's not perfect. This might come out after the one you want to stop has already attacked. But this could still end up buying you some time and being awesome. And with all the blockers and everything else, this is a deck that likes buying time. Also, I've now seen Capone in the manga. Did not realise this when I saw the card. Now that I know who Capone is, I look back at the card and I'm like, oh yeah, that's super obvious. Didn't realise it at the time. Now, I told you I like Boa Hancock. There is another Boa Hancock in this deck. We have got the super rare that came around in OP01. It's a 4 cost, and it's another blocker. This deck is going full on into blockers and not being shy about it. But remember, Queen allows you to recover, but that is late in the game when you've got, 4 cards total between your hand and your life, and you have an 8 cost character in play, so you need to buy time to get yourself to the point where you're playing your 8 cost characters. But also, if you get kind of late in the game here, you can basically sit here doing a whole bunch of blocking and recovering with Queen, and basically making it so your opponent's just not able to win the game. That's kind of hilarious. But you'll notice this deck has a lot of blockers in. That is not a coincidence, because you've got recovery on your leader, bunch of blockers, that makes sense. The other thing that Boa Hancock has here, other than the block which we just mentioned, is Don X1, when attacking or blocking, draw a card if there are 5 or fewer cards in your hand. Bit more draw power. That's quite nice. Now we got ourselves a placer of the new super rare Sanji from OP04 here. This is the one, 4 cost, 5000 power. You've got blocker and a trigger that lets you trash a card from your hand to play this card. Not the first blocker we've seen by a long shot, but also not the first blocker we've seen that can be played from a trigger. We want blockers on the field here. We would love it if we didn't always have to pay for them. This is awesome. This is a deck which loves blocking, and I am here for it. Now, we have 3 copies here of Sniper King. When I was reading the manga, I now know who Sniper King is. Shocked, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely shocked. But what we've got here with Sniper King is 7 cost, 6000 power. Can also be called Usopp for some reason. And on play, return a character that costs 6 or less to their owner's hand, then draw 2 and trash 2. And every part of this card is good. Firstly, you're putting a 6 cost or less back to your opponent's hand. That's good disruption, we like it. But also, this is a deck where you need to try and have a low hand size, because that's how Queen works. So that's why we got a bit more draw on characters than we would usually have here, because you need to be trying to play your cards down and getting a low hand size, so you need ways to cycle through your deck. Now, I told you that Queen demanded that you had an 8 cost or higher character on the board in order to be able to do the recovery. So which 8 cost characters have we gone for? Well, we've got Charlotte Katakuri. Interestingly enough, Sniper King is one of the secret rares from OPO3. Charlotte Katakuri is the other. You're playing both of them. 8 cost, 8,000 power, on play, put up to one character that costs 8 or less on the top or bottom of its owner's life area, face up. Yeah, it's more recovery. But bearing in mind this is a deck with lots of blockers and also a bunch of recovery, you can see where we got, well, with the leader at least recovers. This is more of that. This is good. We've then got ourselves Dracul Mihawk. This is another blue card that we're playing that goes right back to the beginning of the game. We've got ourselves the OPO1 Mihawk, and I'm obviously going to show you the Akira Ogawa artwork here because it's stunning. 9 cost, 9,000 power, and on play, place up to one character of a cost of 7 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. But bearing in mind you've got a similar thing going on with Sniper King here, I love the fact that we can just start cherry picking our opponent's good cards and just getting them off the field. This is a very good thing that we like very much indeed. So yeah, bit of disruption, annoying your opponent. Sounds good to me, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds good to me. And then finally we've got the 9 cost Yamato, which does come around from the brand new OPO4. This is the 9 cost, 9,000 power, and on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters that is equal to or less than the total life of you and your opponent. Then, if you have 1 or less life, you may add up to a card from the top of your deck to your life area. Yeah, so once again, this is more recovery, as we've talked about. This is good. Don't forget, we have 2 cards, the Sanji and the Bo Hancock, that are blockers that can be played for free by a trigger, and we've got Capone that can turn off an attacker with a trigger, and all of these recovery cards are putting random cards on the top of your deck at the top of your life, which of course means you're giving up more life during the game. Your opponent isn't taking 4 life to win, they're taking hopefully 7, 8, 9 life to win, which means all of those cards with trigger are way more likely to actually end up in your life and be played for free. This is a good thing, ladies and gentlemen, because not only have we got these blockers with trigger, but we're way more likely to actually get them working, to have them coming out and being played for free. And this is wonderful. This is awesome. Now, in terms of event cards, we've got 3,000 words. We're playing a full playset of this. This is from OPO3. As your main, place up to one character of a cost of 5 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. And like we said, we've seen a few skills that work like this. And then we've got 3,000 words. As a trigger, place up to one character of a cost of 3 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. But again, like I've explained, these cards with trigger are more likely to come out as a trigger. This is a very good thing. And then finally, from OPO4, we've got Gum Gum Red Rook. 6 cost. And as a main, place up to one character at the bottom of its owner's deck. Look, there's a bunch of cards that get rid of characters off the field. With that combined with your blocker, you're going to buy yourself a lot of time. This is awesome. But then we got Trigger. Place up to one character with a cost of 4 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. Not as good as the main, obviously, because it's a trigger. But again, because of all your recovery, Trigger is way more likely to work. And you're still getting a character off the field. This is a very, very good thing. So there you have it. Queen is apparently a very good deck. And the reason here is kind of simple. You're recovering. If we look at how the deck is made, and we've just gone through and had a good look at the deck, lots of blocking, lots of character removal, and then the extra recovery cards that we can fit into the deck. And the goal in the deck is kind of simple. You are okay giving up life in the early game because a lot of these skills kick in when you've got low life. But then when you get down to low life, lots of blockers, lots of stopping your opponent and frustrating them, and a bunch of recovery. So your opponent has to take a lot of life cards to actually win. but you've got a whole bunch of blockers and other cards to stop them doing so. I did not think Queen was a legit deck, and I said that many times on this channel. I didn't buy it as a deck. I wasn't feeling good about it. I was wrong. Queen is a good deck. And here's the thing. I love being wrong about stuff like this, because now I've got to sit here and talk about a deck which I didn't think was going to be legit, and that makes me happy. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know if you think this is a legit deck or a one-shot flash in the pan. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.